Hi, Novena.
Hello, Adrian. Hello, Eric.
Hello.
It's great to have you guys here. Thank you for being here. I mean, I know that you were at KCRW before, years ago, it seems like, when you dropped your first album, and now you're back, and it's just like nice to reconnect along your journey. So thank you.
Thank you, Novena. Yeah, it's been amazing to be back, just to see you guys' smiling faces, to be in the studio again. This place means a lot to us. This is where I'm from, so I'm feeling at home. How you feeling, Adrian?
I'm feeling good. My visual representation for how long ago we were here is your hair was like a lot shorter. So
There's
I was like
videos
looking
of
at
it,
it, I'm like,
too.
we were here like that long ago, you know? So, yeah. But yeah, we were here and we played, you know, with the night 2019.
Yeah, I think it was 2019. And you mentioned you're from here, and Santa Monica in particular, I feel like has some fond, nostalgic memories for you, right? You spent a lot of time on the pier.
Yeah, this is like where I became a man. You know, like seriously, on a skateboard and with a guitar in your hand, you really have to grow some bravery, you know. So, all jokes aside, I mean, Santa Monica means the world to me for the simple fact that I feel like a lot of my artistry and perspective in creating was cultivated here, you know, from the weather, through the weather, and you know, and the people. So, yeah, it's nice, man. This feels good.
I've seen videos of you like back in the day busking on the pier, doing your thing, and doing that is not easy. Like just being out on the street, people are walking by, some people don't want to hear music, and I imagine that kind of prepped you as a performer for, you know, how to connect with people when maybe you need to grab their attention.
Most definitely. Eventually, you know, honestly, I think I got used to, you know, not having those golf claps that you guys just, you know, gave me, you know. So you kind of get used to it, and then when situations like this happen, you know, it's not only a great validator, but it encourages me to elevate my performative disposition, you know, and engaging with you guys. So, yeah, this is cool. I wish you guys could just like, if I could have, like, I feel like the coolest thing that I could have had was you guys just following me around while I was busking, and after every song, or you know, if I did something really cool, just a few golf claps as if I'm shooting a putt would have been really cool. Yeah, there it is. That's great.
There you go. You guys are awesome.
Just getting on the bus, you know, you gotta do it.
Let's take it back even further. I mean, you became a man in Santa Monica before you were a man. You were a boy. You both were boys. And I'm curious, like, what were the like earliest inklings of when you were thinking that you wanted to be a musician or a performer for both of y'all?
I'll let you go first, if you like.
I always wanted to be a musician. I didn't know, it was weird. Growing up, to me, was like watching MTV, you know, from that generation. Like, I thought you were either, you know, in Guns N' Roses, like a rock star, or you weren't, you know? So I just didn't know that I could actually be a performer. Like, I would do it all the time by myself. I would play guitar on the tennis racket and whatever, like, and do all that. I didn't, honestly, it didn't seem like a feasible reality until I moved to Austin when I was like 18, was when I met, all of a sudden, this whole community. Went to a musical town, and you meet a whole community of people, and you realize that like not everybody is in Guns N' Roses. There's a whole healthy like community of musicians that are, you know, everywhere from working class to rock star to whatever, all walks of life and all in between. And it was getting to Austin to me around when I was 18, where I was like, oh, I can actually do this. Like, I can actually play music and get paid and do that. So, you know, that was around when it kind of clicked for me.
That's really good. That's a cool story.
Thank you, man.
I like that.
Learning so much about each other.
It's in the autobiography, so y'all, it's on page 14. Yeah.
No, I was
funny.
just telling some of our label representatives here that like this is kind of like my favorite thing to do while we are on tour or promoting an album, because there are aspects that will come to the surface of our personality that I don't get to see every day. So I'm like, man, I wonder which, you know, what aspect of Adrian I get today, you know? So we always do our best to keep a good attitude and positive, you know, nature about us. And so, so back to the question,
We can talk about whatever you want, actually.
I honestly didn't want to become a musician. I wasn't really. I grew up in a household where there was a singer. Like my uncle had a strong hand in raising me. He'd babysit, and I'd have to go to the gospel rehearsals when I wanted to be out on, in the park. And then they would wear matching shirts and stuff. I'm like, man, this is. I don't know if I want to sign up for this, But I think that, what I'm saying in conclusion is that there was so much of that information that I was exposed to at a younger age that by the time I became 17, 18 years old, music was just there as a therapeutic tool, So I was just really exploring myself. And I'm still not sure how much of this I'm really signing up for. I'm learning and experiencing things for the first time. And what keeps me going and super thankful is to see you guys' eyes. Like, there's no way this happens on the Santa Monica Pier for me, to this degree, So it feels really special. You guys make me feel very thankful to.
Have you ever tried going back recently on the pier and performing?
I've gone back and I would busk again just because it's just a great song.
What it feels like.
Great songwriting tool.
Uh-huh.
I was writing songs. It wasn't of the disposition that really needed to make money, which I probably could have been of that disposition more, but it was about creating and just being out in the open, comparatively to being like in the inner city of Los Angeles where there's just a bit more noise. Mm-hmm. That served as a distraction to some degree, but yeah, man, we got to meet Novena. She's like a rock star here, shout out to KCRW.
No, you're the rock stars.
This is awesome. I feel like we need a podium and a Bible or something.
You can do whatever you want. Yeah. Let's talk about the new album, Chronicles of a Diamond. It's so good and it's so fun. Like, it sounds like Black Pumas, but definitely an evolution of Black Pumas. There's like so much more meat and potatoes in there, and like also caviar, and you know what I mean? Totally. Sauvignon as well. That's the name of one of the songs on the album. Ice cream.
Wow, there's a lot of food.
There's a lot of food, yeah. You like food, don't you? So how did you guys approach making this album that was different from the one before?
I think when we first got together, there was this beautiful, chemistry that happened, right? Where I wasn't necessarily, I feel like when I first got the call, I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to help someone finish their project, right? It's, being presented with music that I wouldn't have written on my own otherwise. And I thought, man, what a great opportunity to maybe get some catalog work while I was
first connected with Adrian.
When I first connected with Adrian Casada back in the day in Austin, Texas. I think I might have been driving for Amazon and or working in a cafeteria. It just wasn't a good look. So for me, and so it was really cool to allow that opportunity to kind of get me going in ways that I had never imagined going before. So he had a bunch of tracks. I'm like, I'm gonna help him finish these tracks, and I'm gonna turn around and I'm gonna go home. But he started asking of my catalog, and I showed him a few songs. The sound just really mixed very well to the songs, and at this rate, I think that the most beautiful thing for myself on this album that has happened is, being able to see how the facilities of playing guitar on the pier has elevated and expanded to the degree that now there's a band, now there are studio, that I have access to. And so every day is an interesting and like different learning experience, and like really exploring the process of making music, and then having the adjutor that is working with someone who's like so dope, and has been like very fire at what he does for an extended period of time for what we might be able to make together. So that was the biggest thing, if I can not be so long-winded, that was the biggest thing. And just the facilities were just expanded upon, I think, to a degree.
Yeah, like he said, the first time I reached out to him was very much we had like a palette and a direction, and it was already going in this one. And honestly, it kind of took a while to really land on the direction of this one, because we both knew, we want to make it better than the first one. We don't want to repeat the first one.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's not as easy. It was hard to like get a rhythm going on tour making an album. Like you might find a couple of days in the studio here and there, but the tours were just never ending, and it just didn't seem like we were ever really gonna finish something. But in all this time, Eric has a bunch of kind of homie / ex-roommates guys that he has, hangs with in a studio in Austin, and they're just always hanging and cranking out ideas. So there was this whole other like production house going on really this time around with production ideas that Eric had, which wasn't really the case on the first album. So like right away when he was sending me things, I'm like, man, this is so left field and so dope and so perfect. And we were just kind of like going and going until all of a sudden it started to come into focus. Like, oh wow, we got an album now. And the cool thing is that I can, always say like, hey, do you have anything? And he's like, check this out. And he's got 3 things like that. I'm like, we need a slow. He's like, I got 3 slow songs. So, him bringing ideas like that already made it to where we were starting ideas from a more adventurous place this time around. And then making it cohesive, honestly, that took a lot of work. Definitely lost some sleep with that. But I think it was all for the better. And I think having that pressure, the like sophomore album pressure, was really good for both of us. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, there was days where it's hard on both of us. Like it can be kind of stressful to follow up an album like that, where there was no expectations, nobody around. It was literally just Eric and I, and did it and turned it in. And all of a sudden, there's people around, there's expectations, there's numbers, and there's whatever. So I think the pressure ended up being really good for both of us to kind of kick us in the ass a little bit and make us get it done.
I like that you mentioned the idea of expectations, because it's something that I've been thinking about since we had the Grammys recently, and artists like being nominated and then thinking, am I going to win? And like, you guys have been nominated for, I think like 7 Grammys at this point. Immediately after your first album, like 4 months after it was released, nominated for a Grammy. And I've really been like tapping into what is the experience of like an artist? Because it's like most artists are not making music to win an award, but then you get nominated and you kind of get like, I'm guessing like wrapped into this idea of like, oh, we're nominated, like we could win. And, I've talked to some people and it's like, oh, it's no big deal at first, I've been nominated. And then the longer it goes, you might have like a party celebrating it. Everybody's congratulating you. And then if you don't win, like, I'm just curious, like your perspective of going through that process. I mean, you're definitely deserving of all the nominations and the awards, and like, and you're so like, I can tell that you're so like in touch with the music and the reason that you do it, but you've also been nominated a bunch of times for Grammys. And like, what is your relationship to that?
I mean, I think it's the coolest thing, man, because I don't know that we necessarily had in sight, a pursuit that might develop over time towards wanting to be able to be at the Grammys or kind of play the game in other ways that, the fruits of the labors kind of attract. So, I'll say it this way. I think we're most powerful and influential and engaging when we double down on who we are as individuals, especially as it pertains to what's moving us. For at the end of the day, whatever comes from our heart, my heart, I believe has the ability and or the capacity to touch someone else's. And that's the only truth that I kind of take to as it pertains to being in the studio. Yeah.
I dig that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the Grammys were a couple of days ago, and we're now, I think 0 for 7 or 8 or something. But I was to put it in perspective.
I wasn't trying to like make it like that.
No,
but
it's all good.
It's just interesting.
It's all good.
To me,
I was we were talking, and I'm like, just to put it in perspective, like I was telling Eric, I was reading some, and not to like make ourselves feel better. I just happened to like scroll through and see some articles about like Nas doesn't have a Grammy. There's some people that are 0 for 15. There's people that are 0 for 23. There's some people. And again, it's not like Eric said, the most important thing is that the music comes from our soul. It's true. It touches people and everything. But we're competitive dudes. It almost feels like when you get your ass kicked in Mario Kart and you're like, let's run it back. Like we're going to be back. Like if we, I think it's more about that. It's
you
some
had
Mario
the
Kart stuff.
Namaste answer, and you had the.
Oh, you think this dude is Namaste on Mario Kart? Yeah.
Not on Mario Kart.
I don't know that I like where this is going, guys.
Is Mario Kart what's being played in the tour bus?
Had we ever had it? I don't know.
No, we never. We have played it.
I think it's a bad idea. But you know what? At the end of the day, we can't help but be influenced by our environment, right? And our externalities that, while we're all reflections of each other, you can say all day like, oh, I don't really care about what people think or the Grammys being validated in, such and such way. As long as I feel like we're being kind of true to ourselves to the degree that you're not making something on Thanksgiving that you don't like, taking a chance on, people really appreciate, this is very personal, appreciating the dish, I feel like, let me make it make sense.
What is Eric making on Thanksgiving though?
Let me make it make sense. Probably, I haven't done chicken wings on Thanksgiving yet. Oh. But I think that I'd rather go and be nominated 8 times and not necessarily win, but still a part of the conversation based on our authenticity and love towards the craft, as opposed to doing something that's just that I think that you guys are gonna like as much as I love you. This is real life and a lifestyle for all of us. So got to stay true to yourself, I guess.
All right, we're going to get to the music. I have a couple more questions. One is a fun one. You guys are in a van together, driving on tour like the old days in a van. I don't know if you ever did that. A lot of
down
bands
by
have,
the river. Yeah.
In the van, yeah. And so there's only one CD, and you guys both love this CD, and it's going to be the vibe in the van. What CD is that? Who's on the CD?
Adrian's old just lost tapes of him like not being really good at guitaring while he was in college.
Y'all both want to hear that in the van on loop.
We have the box set, the box set of that stuff, yeah.
Okay. Like he has said, like I'm being a little bit facetious, but I think that is my favorite thing to listen to is unfinished ideas, because there's a little bit of magic in everything that comes to be. I've heard one of his engineers say that it was Adrian's recommendation not to ever throw anything away for the simple fact that you never know how cool it might be later on. So yeah.
And speaking of ideas, okay, my final question is, are you ever in the studio and you do something absolutely brilliant and like so skilled and it's on the record and then you're like, crap, I have to do that live now? I hit that note. I got to hit that note live night after night now.
I feel like that happens all the time. Yeah, we've had some moments. Adrian's guitar solo in October 33, I think, was one of those moments. Yeah.
There's a handful of those. I took a scream that he did somewhere on the album and put it on another song.
I was like, no.
And he's like, man, now I got to scream on like 3 songs. Like that. Well, he actually didn't do that scream. I was like, man, that scream from that other song works if we put it here. But yeah, we have a lot of those. Yeah.
Well, we're ready to hear those screams right now. What do you think?
I don't know. What do y'all think? All right, I'll scream back. I got you. Yes. I'll reciprocate.
Let's get to the music. Please join me.
Get to the screams.
Please join me in welcoming Black Pumas here at the Annenberg Performance Studio, live from KCRW HQ.
Thank you so much. That was great.
Thank you.